Hello. Digital methods include computer security. Only managers will be able to access the information on the computer with the use of a password. And if anyone externally, say external managers, visit the organization or the site where the computer is stored, then they will need something called a temporary password to be able to access the sensitive information. So we're going to be using computers and passwords which are only accessible by management. If anyone external comes, they will need a temporary password. And that should keep the information that is being stored safe and private. Environmental factors do include risk, because you can't predict them, and they can be very damaging. When the stores come between the November to January, when they do come, they can be very destructive. They can cause floods, hail damage, and even storms can be very frightening. If any lightning hits the building, that can bring damage as well. And of course, high winds can bring extensive damage, including taking down telephone lines, crushing trees, become nuisances to drivers who wish to make use of car park facilities, and it can even cause trees crashing onto buildings, branches of trees crashing onto roofs and causing tile damage. And tile damage can let in leaks inside the building, disturbing business activities. So of course there needs to be awareness of environmental impacts, and also there needs to be an action plan if something goes wrong, a blackout, a leak. There needs to be emergency action plans set in place so that everyone knows what to do when something unexpected happens on the odd occasion and that disrupts business activities or even customer comfort. So there needs to be a set of numbers to call. There needs to be a way to keep customers feel calm even during the phase of disruption. Everyone needs to take steps to ensure that those working within the buildings don't panic and are also kept calm during the phase of disruption. And there needs to be action against what's happened that will alleviate the problem issue or reduce the problem issue fast so that business can continue activities just like normal. Being a cafe based business, there's low levels of contingency. What could happen is not as high risk as other businesses. It's not expected that anything really catastrophic that will greatly impact the business will actually happen. But if it does, if during a hailstorm too much hail crashes on a person's car and the company is sued for not having shelters available, that could help decrease the company. So in anticipation of such an event, a company could provide covered parking areas, but there's definitely no great anticipation. Contingency strategies should be set in place, yes, but it's not likely that it will ever be used. But in the case that it does, a plan has been devised, and the company has anticipated what could happen, and so that the event can be discouraged. So if there's any threat of hail, especially during the winter seasons, then shelters can be provided, and that will lower the threat that may result in contingency. So yes, there should be a contingency plan set in place if the business doesn't already have one. Emergency prediction should always be set in place before the business opens its doors to the public. But it's not likely that it'll ever be used, especially with the environmental factors available. The biggest threat is hail. The smaller threat is floods. And the least threat is bushfires, and because the area has low threat to bushfires in the bushfire season. And so, yes, there should be a plan set in place, but and one has probably already been set in place, and anticipation has already been predicted, and to keep the company safe, but it's low risk. The company will probably, an estimated of 80%, will not even need to use it. In regards to staff training and information sessions, this is necessary because otherwise staff will be left in the dark on what's changed and how to cope with the changes. They won't know what legislation has changed. They won't know what additional things they have to do to be able to ensure that the organisation has successfully implemented changes. So they won't know anything. They won't understand why there are changes, that they won't even understand what the changes are. So of course training and information sessions will be needed available for all staff, and this will impact staff greatly. Some staff won't want to do it, others will say they have no time, others will think it's dumb and not want to show up. So it's going to be very taxing for staff and management to get staff to attend those training sessions, because there are always problems and implications on the rise whenever staff are required to do something other than work. But training will be provided within 1 to 2 weeks of management being informed of the changes. Training sessions may be internal or external. If the training sessions are going to be large, then external training centres may be used, but if it's going to be small and kept to singular groups or departments, then the training sessions may be internal as well. So internal is most desired for those who don't want to go to any external locations. It usually means that management will deal with the training, and the information will be set with the use of a whiteboard for the training, and the information will be actually reduced to allow large bits of information to be accessible to those who need training in a compacted manner. So it won't be as detailed as an external training session may be, but it will still be training. So there will be a great impact, but staff will be paid for the training. They won't be missing out on work. They won't lose money. they will get the same wage that they get during their working hours to be able to attend the training. So they won't be losing anything by going to the training. They'll only be helping the organization to implement the changes within the business organization. So them being trained is required so that they know what the changes are, what it is expected of them, how their roles are going to change in response to the changes, and how to apply the changes in their everyday activities. So this will require them learning new things and new skills and new information. And of course it will be strenuous, but it will not be unpaid. So they're not doing something and getting nothing from it. They will be paid, and this will help the organization implement necessary changes. Is the business aligned with environmental factors? I would say yes, it is. They're aligned, they're aware of them. The changes will not greatly impact environmental factors, but they may impact slightly. More visitors to the site may bring the risk of environmental risk factor, will heighten the risk of environmental risk factor, but it doesn't mean that anything will happen. Most likely there won't be any great risk in regards to environmental issues, but the business is aware of the environmental factors, and they are in sync. The people who they associate with are also aware of environmental factors, and there shouldn't be any great risk with the changes of that are going to pursue. So everything is just most likely going to stay pretty much the same. Business function will not be greatly disrupted in any way. There shouldn't be anything shocking happening despite high traffic flow or anything else which the business activities may help increase. So there shouldn't be any real factors in regards to environmental, and the business is already aware of them. The stakeholders and everyone involved is aware of them, but nothing's really going to change.